Let's make this intro straight to the point. On today, I talk about the only 4 stages that your customer can be in a customer journey, and the mistake that people make that gets in the way of their messaging, their content, that creates massive confusion. And my hope is that this will help you understand and make it really, really easy for you to be able to communicate effectively in everything that you do. So without further ado, it's about 15 minutes of just straight education and awarenesses for you. Let's get into the episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Mind of George Show. And if you can't see this and you're listening to this, the mohawk is coming in good. And just for the record, I shave it myself. And I learned this little tip months ago, but I think my friend Jim Quick shared it a long time ago. And I started brushing my teeth with my left hand because I'm right hand dominant, like my right hand. And boy, oh boy, does it make it a whole lot easier. And I feel like my brain even works better. But that is not what we're talking about in today's podcast. Today's podcast, we're going to be talking about different states of ideal clients, right? So this is 100% in the lens of customer journey. And this is kind of applicable everywhere in your content, in your messaging, in your marketing, and even in your fulfillment, because there are people that buy products, programs, services at different stages because of the decisions that they make. Okay. And so I'm going to get straight into the meat here because I'm really excited to talk about this, but I'm more excited for you to listen to it, take notes on it, and then have these awarenesses to go put them into practice, right? So resource number one is I had my incredible friend and business partner and homie, Fabi on the show. And Fabi and I did an episode and we talked about what she calls the Ursula effect. That is her name, her branding, and her model. But basically, people end up speaking to people's pain points consistently and consistently, and then they just attract more poor, unfortunate souls. And so in today's podcast, I'm going to share this through kind of 2 different frameworks. Framework number 1 is the really easy one to write down, which is there's 4 stages. There's unaware, problem aware, solution aware, and self-aware. I talk about these often. And then in the competence matrix, the way that those are broken down is unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and then unconscious competence, right? And so these are really, really important to understand because no customer journey is linear. No one set of people are in the same stage at the same time, and they all kind of start at a different stage. And these stages are not stages in our marketing or stages in our messaging. These are stages in people's bodies. They're conscious, they're subconscious, their beliefs, their behaviors. But I want to talk about how we use these things and how we have how we have an awareness of them to really, really understand. And the reason I love the competence matrix, and I think I'm going to do an entire podcast on this, but I'm going to give you the short version right now. When we think of somebody that is unaware with the label first that I gave you, which in this competence matrix would be unconscious incompetence, the easy phrase to remember is I don't know what I don't know. So if somebody is unaware or in unconscious incompetence, they don't know what they don't know, meaning they might have something in their life that isn't working and they can't see it. They might have a pain point that they don't even recognize as a pain point because they haven't seen another answer or solution, or they might have something they want to achieve in their life, but they don't know that yet because they haven't tasted it, smelled it, felt it, experienced it, seen somebody else in it, right? So that's unaware or unconscious incompetence. The second one, conscious incompetence, this tends to be problem aware people. And so the easiest way to remember this one is I know what I don't know. And so meaning I realize there's something out there or different for me and I see it, but I also know that I have no idea how to get there, how to be there, or how to do that. The third one, solution aware, is conscious competence for me, which is I know what I know, meaning like I know this, I know I can do this, but I'm not doing it as a habit or behavior. It's not who I am, but I know that solution's there. I know I get to be doing it. And I even caught myself to not use the word should, because should is a shame-based word. Thank you, Brian Bogart. Love you to pieces, bro. Conscious competence is I know what I know. And then the fourth one, which is self-aware, is unconscious competence for me, which is I'm not aware and I know. And for unconscious competence, it means it's who we are. We're operating that way, we believe that way, and typically it unlocks another level, right? And so in the lens of marketing, we'll see this all the time in messaging and in content. And the mistake that people make is they try to talk to all the stages at once. They try to take somebody on a journey through completely unaware to self-aware in one post, in one story, in one reel, in one video, or even in one podcast, right? Or they try to get them from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence to conscious competence to unconscious competence all in one phase. And quite frankly, it doesn't work that way. Maybe if you're standing in front of somebody and you're doing in the personal development world what's called a strategic intervention, you can get somebody through those stages because you have the ability to take them really deep, hold the container and do that. But in the lens of content, it ends up creating a whole lot of confusion, and it makes it feel like our messaging doesn't work. But in actuality, we're just confusing people because we're speaking to them and trying to take them on a massive journey that can't be taken. Like it actually is physically impossible, right? And so for me, unaware is just really people knowing. Like I still have people every day who are like, I didn't even realize customer journey was a thing. And I'm like, wow, yeah, it's an important thing. It's a very important thing to be able to fulfill your product and get people's results, right? But then we have people who come in and they're like problem aware. And problem aware means like, I know I have a problem this, my life is in pain. This stinks. This doesn't feel good. And they're not changing anything about it because they literally know that they don't know, but they're not taking an action. Then you have solution aware. And the way that I describe solution aware is people that are like always going for the next best thing. Oh my God, there's a new idea. Oh, there's a new idea. There's a new shiny object. There's a new shiny object. But it's never being integrated or action being taken for them to have the evidence in their life that they can do this and actually start a new behavior. And then you have the best one. And this is the dream bucket, which is self-aware, right? And this is like, holy moly. I understand that pattern. I understand that belief. I understand that I get to have a better customer journey, and I want you to help me do it. Not I need you to help me, not that I'm desperate, but I want you to help me do it, right? And so these are the only 4 stages that really, really exist. And when we start to understand these things and understand that no customer journey is linear, meaning if we even think about our own behavior when we go into a grocery store or we go into a boutique store or a clothing store, or even if we look at our own behaviors when it comes to how we consume and do things on the internet, it's not that we saw one post and we're like, holy moly, I get it. My whole life is going to change. I'm going to click this link right now. I'm going to buy this thing and I'm going to start. There's a whole series of touch points that happen in between it. And so mistake number 1 is people think that one post is the solution, that one post is the secret, but they measure in days and not decades. But if you really think about it, the point of your content, the point of your social media, the point of your videos is to allow somebody to identify their current state, though they think and feel the same way that you do, and then start collecting evidence to put things into practice in their life to move them through these stages. And so this used to be a whole lot more prevalent in the lens of digital marketing, like in the early days of Facebook or the early days of Instagram. And I'm totally dating myself right now. And I've only been in this game for 14 years, but I know people that have been in longer, but I feel kind of old right now, where we would literally design things that would take a week or two for somebody to take the whole journey through, or we would design emails that would take somebody through those steps and through that journey so that we could achieve the ultimate desired goal, which was them to be able to see themselves in it and be like, holy moly. First, I didn't know what I didn't know. Thank you for showing me there was another way. Now I know what I don't know. You're not my solution and I'm not in a problem. There's nothing wrong or broken in my life, but there's a different workout to be had. There's a different workout to do. Holy moly. Let me try a few of these things on. Wow, I see it. I want more of it. And then they're like, what are the solutions? Give them to me. And they're like, wow, okay, got it. I can totally do this. I have the evidence to do this. I have the belief to do this. Please help me do this so I can integrate this into my life or into my business. And so if you're thinking about this in the lens of content, everybody tries to cram everything into one bucket or into one post or into one video. And typically this is the thing that creates a reactance on the consuming side that gets in the way of them taking that action. And so one of my scripture statements, and if you don't know what scripture statements are, I teach them, we design them, we help you use them, but it's a reminder so that when you hear these things, they give you fortune cookies to remember how to win in the game of business or marketing, or in my life in relationships, mindset, and customer journey. And one of the ones that I remind myself of often is that my message is only as effective as the recipient's ability to hear it, understand it, and implement it without me. And so that means that at each one of these stages, or in each one of these buckets, over a span of time, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, a month, you have to consistently be hitting each one independently so that people can navigate and pick up the evidence needed to be able to move closer into working with you, or coming into your ecosystem, or following you on Instagram, or consuming your content, or signing up for your email list. But you cannot do it all at once. And so we have to start to remember that just because we have access to people on the internet, we have access to Instagram and access to Facebook, it doesn't mean everything happens in one step. It means we have to be aware of the stages that people are in. We have to know what it feels like when they're in their stage. We have to know what they think when they're in that stage. We have to really implore empathy to remember what it was like to be in those stages so that we can meet them there, give them the evidence that they need to be able to make a decision and be the hero of their own journey. And then as they progress through these stages, they progress deeper in their relationship with you, and ultimately leading to them working with you, or opting into you, or listening to your podcast, or any behavior that we don't actually have control over, but we do have control of these stages and how we speak to people. And so it's even interesting when I use the Google Maps example, right? I use this analogy all the time. And so when we think about understanding, if you open Google Maps on your phone, and I know it's annoying how much I talk about this example, but it tends to really, really land for people, right? If you open Google Maps right now, the default when you open Google Maps is it says choose a starting location, choose to destination. And if you open that right now and you put in a destination and you hit go, Google Maps will not give you a route. It will say, I need to know where you are, choose a starting location. And then the moment you put a starting location in, then it can give you directions on how to get there. And the same is true for the inverse. If you open Google Maps and you put a starting location, but you don't put a destination and you hit go, it will not get you there, right? And so for me, Google Maps, when you put in a starting location and no destination, that's problem aware, meaning I know I'm in pain, I know I'm in problems, but I'm not willing to look at where I want to go. And so I'm going to stay stuck here. And if you put in a destination and not a starting location, that's solution aware for me. I want to go here, I want to go here, I want to go here, but I refuse to acknowledge where I am because I think the next best thing is the solution. And it actually makes it impossible for people to get results or to make progress. Before Google Maps is opened, unaware or unconscious incompetence is they don't even know that Google Maps exists to be able to use to get them somewhere different or identify where they are. And then self-aware is, I love that I have Google Maps. I'm willing to look at my starting location and my destination. And I know I can do this, but I can do this better if you help guide me and navigate this, because there might be a shortcut or a better way, or that road is blocked, or there's a toll that I might not want to pay for. And so Google Maps is the best way that I articulate this for me to think through the stages of somebody's journey. But your job and our job is to be able to communicate effectively to people so they know where they are. And then we can meet them there and give them the evidence, the steps, the tools, which could be lead magnets or content or a video or a course to move them through these stages into their goals or into their future, right? And so there's even people that are listening to this right now that might have never heard of the competence matrix, right? And if you just Google, and I think it's competence matrix, and I want to be really, really clear with you, so I don't misguide you. But if you just Google unconsciously incompetent, it'll pull up the 4 stages of competence, which is the model that's used. But you weren't aware that this existed. I wasn't aware this existed until a couple of years ago, and then I became aware of it, and I'm like, holy moly, now I know that thing exists. I didn't really understand it, but then over the years, I started to use it more, I started to understand it more, and now it's the way that I think. And it's the same way with our content, with our customer journeys, and the way that we serve people. And so we don't get to make the mistake of trying to cram the entire journey in one post or in one video. We get to meet people where they are. And one of the famous things that was always said to me in personal development and in coaching and all these things that I was coached in is like, if you give a human being 5 choices, how many will they take? And the answer is 0. But if you give them 1, they can take that choice. They can take that step. And if they don't, you also have a very accurate picture of where people get stuck or where they're stagnant, right? And this is where I'm going to reread and recommend everybody reread until you have it memorized like the back of your hand, The Catalyst by Jonah Berger. So I wanted to talk about these stages today so that you can understand these are really only the 4 stages that people exist in when in the lens of customer journey or in our marketing or in our business. And our job is to be able to speak to each one of them and then meet them where they are and have a path or a bridge to get them to that next picture. And once you start to think about this and understand this, this makes it a whole lot easier to understand the behaviors that are happening and how to leverage them and how to leverage your content or your messaging or your lead magnets to be able to take people to that next step. Because it is not possible for somebody to jump from unaware to self-aware in one post, or from unaware to solution aware in one post. Because just because somebody is unaware and then we say, oh my God, here's this possibility, they even haven't had the time to look at their life, to look at their story, to look at their business, to look at their health, and then start to court and look at what differences are out there or what options they have or what they might want it to look like. And we need to be able to give people space and agency so that they feel empowered to be the hero of their own journey, because that's what leads to people being self-aware. And so I wanted to share that today. I want to talk about that. I love talking about this. I geek out about it. I love drawing it on diagrams and all those different pieces. And I will be doing a full podcast on just the competence matrix. I have it in my notes already because I think it's massively, massively powerful. But just to give you the reminders one more time on the easy phrases to remember. So if somebody's unaware or they're unconsciously incompetent, the phrase is, I don't know what I don't know. If they tend to be problem aware, meaning they're consciously incompetent, the phrase is, I know what I don't know. If they're consciously competent or solution aware, it's I know what I know. And then when they're self-aware or unconsciously competent, meaning they think and feel the same way we do, they believe it, and they're looking for advice and guidance like an actual coach, not somebody to do it for them, then it's I'm not aware and I know, because they're operating in that state and they want help amplifying it or getting more of it. And so that's what I got today. I'm going to go pound my coffee, and I wore a black hoodie today because yesterday I wore a white one and I spilled coffee on it 4 times and I didn't have time to change it between calls. And so I just have coffee stains that appeared more and more and more on my shirt as I went on calls and podcasts. So I was protective today, and I wore my relationship speed algorithms hoodie. So I absolutely love you all the pieces. I'm super stoked to share this one. I cannot wait to hear your takeaways. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. Let me know what you picked up. Let me know what you learned. Let me know if you need any resources, if I can help with this in any way. And I hope you have an absolute blessed day. Remember that relationships will always beat algorithms, and I will either see you in the next episode or you will hear me in your earballs. But either way, we are out, and God bless you all.